how's it going? I know. Crazy hectic, right? Well, sit back and relax and welcome to the Mom and Pop Spot. Help me welcome my dad and the host of the show, St. Patrick.
Welcome to all my parents, caregivers, subscribers, and supporters. We have an important episode with a lot of good info for the community. Today's guest, I'm excited to bring you Kim with Zuri Circle. Did I say it right? Zuri Circle. And Chrisana. Did I say it right? Christina. I apologize. I'll get it right before the show ends. With Agent Foot to the show. How are you both doing today?
Good.
It's gonna be a good show. How are you both doing from 1 to 10? Health wise, mental wise, everything else. How are you guys doing from 1 to 10?
Oh, wow.
Let me answer. Let me take this, Kim.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say before I came here, I
Yeah.
was at a 4.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was so tired. Like I do a lot of stuff with my kids during the weekends. But in the same time, I've been having some health issues.
Yeah.
Like I have been feeling my back. My back's been having a lot of pain, and I
Yeah.
think it has to do with probably with my kidneys.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to the doctor's today, and I have a UTI, so that's
Yeah.
that's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at today, health wise. But I'm lucky that we caught it early, so that I can take antibiotics. And
What's the time frame that they're giving you before you're 100%?
I don't know. I have a follow up with ultrasound on my kidneys to see kind of how those are going.
Yeah.
But with the UTI, it could be within the week.
Well, I hope you get full recovery.
Yeah.
But everybody out there, make sure you're listening to your body check engine light, because it can, pop up at any given time, and we got to make sure we're looking out for ourselves. Yes.
Yeah.
And you? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm on a 10.
Yes.
I rested. Well, I had to rush over here, but
Yeah.
I'm on a 10, so I'm
Yeah.
good.
And the important part is you made it, and you made it
Yes.
safe and sound. So I appreciate you coming in today. Before we get into some questions, what is your organization?
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
So we are Agent Foot. I am. And I say we because once I start getting more volunteers, it's going to be a we.
Okay.
Our values are, to have wisdom,
Right.
integrity, vision, and put that vision into application.
Okay.
So, our mission, our purpose is to provide resources to the youth for everyday life skills, by creating workshops that will offer self-discovery.
Nice.
And give confidence to their future.
Okay.
So by teaching responsibility, integrity, respect, and collaborating with their parents. So I think that's where we differ.
Okay.
A lot of organizations will provide these things, they can do these things, but how does the parents fit into this?
Right.
And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to make a partnership with the youth and their parents, because we're a family unit,
Right.
and we can be partners.
Yes.
And we can get through life together that way. And that's kind of where I want to get to, just kind of bring everybody together.
Yes. You said Agent Foot. Can you spell it out so that way when people are looking up, they know exactly where to find you?
It's AJENTFOOT.
Perfect. So everybody out there, if you're looking, it's AJENTFOOT.
Right.
Cool.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're still building a website. So it's under construction. So still
one day at a time.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
That's the important part. Now, what about you?
So I'm the co-founder of Zuri Circle. It was
Okay.
actually started by my daughter Zuri, who's in high school.
Uh-huh.
And our mission is to provide services to families, homeless, youth, elderly.
Uh-huh.
We do things like food boxes, clothing, furniture. We also provide programs
Okay.
and other resources.
Yeah.
So we partner with other nonprofits and we fill in gaps with them. And then they fill in gaps where we can't
I love it.
service. Some of the big things we have going on right now that are important is we have a school community garden program that we do. We teach K through second graders how to garden. And then we have a music production program, recording arts program that's running currently.
I love the gardening because it's
Yes.
almost like a lost treasure that we just kind of would love to, have my kids, have that, Dr. What is it? Green Thumb?
Green Thumb,
Yes.
yes.
So that way they can, do things on their own, because the food that that are out there, it's garbage. It's just
Yeah.
yeah. How did you both get involved with your guys' organizations? It's like what inspired you to, have Agent Foot, have Zuri Circle?
Well, for me, it was my daughter.
Uh-huh.
We already, because my family already went out and fed the homeless
Uh-huh.
and did those things. She was going to school and didn't like seeing her friends coming to school without things. Didn't like seeing the homeless on the street. So we started to do something. We started small and then it just kind of grew.
Yeah. Well, thank her for me because that is dope. I like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will definitely.
Yes.
I think for me, it was more, when I would talk to the teachers at the school, um, and they talk about how students don't have these resources
Right.
to help them become better, either academically, emotionally,
Uh-huh.
help keep them motivated. And just a lot of seeing how kids are now,
Yeah.
where being disrespectful is considered okay.
Mhm.
And just not learning the values of, you know, what life is like,
Yes.
having that respect for people. Back in the day, I remember, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, opening a door for somebody, walking somebody, across the street who was elderly.
Right. What seems basic to us. But I agree.
Yeah. So it's like a lost art. Can we call it
Yes.
that? Is it safe to call
Yes.
it that?
It is
Okay.
safe to call it that. Yes.
Yeah. So just having my eyes wide open to things that I feel that, the next generation could use from our generation.
Right.
A lot of that has been lost because of, media, social media,
Uh-huh.
video games that are fictional,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to kind of bring it back to reality. Like, hey, this is real life, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to get through it. If you can't get through it, you're gonna end up on on the streets, on drugs, or listening to somebody else.
Agreed. Social media kind of works as a double-edged sword to me because the fact that I can't stand it because it causes a lot of the disrespect. I mean, especially I've mentioned it plenty of times on these episodes where it's the TikToks that are just they're causing the disrespect to the teachers and the parents and everything else. But at the same time, I depend on it to be able to promote the show, to be able to get the word out. Like
Yeah.
it's hard because of the fact that I would love for us to change the motion that we're using social media. Let's stop being so connected to the traffic, the car accident, in the road, and let's start promoting the positives and let's start, highlighting, and glamorizing the important parts, and people are actually doing good in the world versus, being so attracted to all the negative stuff. It's hard,
Yeah.
Right.
So what is your ultimate goal with your organizations? Like looking at it where it's at right now, what do you want to accomplish when everything's said and done?
Wow. Just for people to be more powerful. That's a saying that we always use. It's
Yes.
be powerful. We just want them to be more powerful, be more considerate, be more understanding.
Uh-huh.
Um, don't always assume someone's circumstances because
Right.
you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. My goal is to see that, to help the youth get through the survival mode,
Right.
through the struggles, having that self discovery to be able to say, instead of turning to the negative alternatives, turn to the positive alternatives
Yes.
and see how that outcome looks. And that they can have the hope for the future,
Right.
for their vision, for their dreams,
Uh-huh.
for the things that how they want to impact the community.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just more compassion, trying to
Yes.
show compassion to people, the community, the homeless, to the person sitting right next to you at your desk,
Uh-huh.
just compassion. It's compassion. Like I said, I feel like it's not there so often. So
That's why we got to be the difference makers and make sure that we're showing, our youth, compassion, empathy, just simple steps of, hugging someone. I think like, we had discussed just, it all starts with love. But we have to be the difference makers. Before we transition to the next topic, which is going to cover homelessness, We're gonna take a quick break. And I do have to let all the viewers know out there that the Dallas Cowboys did win today. So we're gonna go ahead and do it for my Dallas Cowboys. So, yeah. And we'll be right back after these messages.
Habari Entertainment Films present There's Only One Name for News with Damon and Aisha. Habari Live Podcast. Habari Entertainment, a race against time. On a quest for glory. Habari News Weekly, HabariEntertainment.com. Catch us for more. Visit us, HabariEntertainment.com.
We are back. So as we transition to the next segment, I do want to cover homelessness because I think it's a very important topic. And I love talking about it just because of the fact that they don't get enough spotlight, the right spotlight, I'll say. So to the both of you, what is a misconception on homelessness?
That they did it to themselves. It's a
Right.
misconception.
Yes.
A lot of times it's not them doing it to themselves. Some people are just born into that circumstance,
Right.
with not so great parents.
Yeah.
I guess I could tell you a story about a young man where me and my son, we were driving and we stopped in the parking lot and he came to ask us for money so he could
Yeah.
get food. And I said, where are your parents? And he said, well, my father died. And when I was young, or my father just died a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and my mom's in Mexico, and he doesn't have any way to get to her.
Yeah.
And so he was living on the streets, like literally, like you could just see,
Wow.
you could tell by the look on his face that he really needed, someone to be there for him. He had no adults, and he's just trying to navigate life himself. So, me and my son, we bought him like more than a few things like drinks and food, and um, we were right in front of a what do you call it? The thrift store,
Yeah.
Goodwill. So, and I could tell like his clothes are like way too big and they're falling off. So we took him into Goodwill and I brought
Yeah.
my son with me and had him pick out like 2, 3 outfits. So that way, he had clothes that actually fit him. He could walk around. He could change into them if he needed to.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, his circumstance was, his father died and it was because of a disease.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that he could do. He didn't have any family members here. His mom's in Mexico. So
Wow.
he didn't do that to himself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. And what about you?
I think a lot of misconception is that homeless individuals, that everybody wants to be housed
Mm-hmm.
and they really don't.
Yeah.
The other misconception is that homelessness really just comes from a lack of finances. Sometimes
Right.
that's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue that everybody is facing right now is mental health is really,
It's
really big
yes.
with our homeless population.
Yeah.
And we need to take a bigger look at that.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk about it, but at the same extent, I do have to carry back on what you're saying on the mental health because it even goes farther, even just outside of the homelessness portion of it. The part that I didn't want to talk about it is the whole Kanye thing. I'm kind of tired of everybody talking about it. We're giving him too much spotlight in a sense for the
Mhm.
wrong reasons. I don't want to make it political either, but at the same time, when I'm watching him, it's hard to watch him because it's watching the mental breakdown that he's having. And I don't know if he's having the right people carry him and to say, hey, you know what, like let me help you. Everybody's so quick to, interview him. I don't see anybody that's saying, hey, you know what, I think what you're doing, let's try to help you versus you spewing all this, stuff that's out there.
Well, I think mental health is kind of hard because when again, you don't know what somebody is suffering.
Yeah.
We have to really start getting to the root of
Right.
problems.
Yes.
And that's one of the things we miss. We go, "Oh, well, they wanna do this, so let's just let them do it."
Yeah.
We gotta talk. We have to start getting people treated.
Yeah.
Um, we have to really figure out the best way for individuals to, be able to release, I would say.
Yeah.
Be able to
Yeah.
talk and get an understanding of where they are and why they're there.
Yes.
You know? Um, because you have to think about it. Let's say we're talking about homelessness and you have say we have a parent, maybe they're not strong mentally
Yes.
and they have children and now things are crumbling for them and they're going to end up on the street.
Yeah.
How do we prevent that from happening?
Right.
How do we prevent now those children being on the street and we get cycles being repeated?
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. The other day I was driving to go pick up my kids at their school, and I seen this lady there. She had her kid with her. I feel like I've seen her a couple of times, and she's using her kid as the tool to be able to panhandle. Is it illegal for someone that's homeless to have a child on the streets, or what is the best? And then if it is or isn't, what is the best course of action in that case?
I don't
Go
know
ahead.
the legalities of having what the legalities are of having
Yeah.
a homeless child on the streets, but it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Right.
It happens. I think the best thing a parent could do is, if there's family members, at least have the child be in a home where they can be comfortable and be able to be a kid,
Yeah.
not have to worry about when their next meal is going to come.
Right.
I mean that would be the best route to go, but if you don't have any family members, you don't have any choices. I
Yeah.
think the best route is to find all the resources to get yourself off the street, to
Yeah.
get your kid off the street, and to, I guess, just to be strong from that,
Yeah.
and move forward from that. That's
Yeah, I felt bad, thinking I'm like, okay, like why, what's the situation here? I'm starting to think about all this different stuff, and I felt bad because I'm like, that's not my place. I don't know the situation. I don't know the story. I don't know anything about it. But the fact that I was just started coming up to my own judgment and stuff like that, and it made me feel bad inside.
yeah, no,
Well, and it's the lack of information.
Right.
When you're on the streets, you don't really know what's available to you.
Hmm.
right.
And so one of the things is if you're on the streets homeless and you have children and they're school age,
Yes.
some schools actually do provide transportation and they
Uh-huh.
will pick your child up where you are at
Yeah.
and take them to school.
Uh-huh.
Now, the younger ones, there may not be resources for them right now,
Yeah.
but they should utilize those things so that at least their child's not missing out on their education.
Right. Yeah. It was hard. And I think the reason why the aggression came in is just because there's nothing that torments me more than seeing women and children like just hurting. How does homeless affect children?
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
That's hard because they have to not only figure out how they're feeling about it,
Right.
but they're concerned about their parent, they're concerned about their safety,
Yes.
they're concerned if they get to see their friends. I think it affects them extremely hard,
Uh-huh.
especially when you have to also figure out where am I eating,
Right.
So there's a lot of factors, and I think that that's very hard on children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with being in survival mode.
Mhm.
What about elders? We tend to overlook elders, but they suffer homelessness too.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Like if they have a certain type of health issue, and
Uh-huh.
you got the kids who lives really far, um, and I hate to say it, some people just don't want to take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
That makes me think how do you, as a parent, prevent that from happening to you when you have kids?
Yeah.
You know, um, just I would hate for my kids to be like, "No, I'm not taking you in, I
Yeah.
live too far and you'll just be too much for us." Like, how do you prevent something like that,
Yeah.
Like, as a parent, to me, I just feel like I just gonna continue to keep loving my kids, keep being there for them, showing that I show up for them,
Right.
that in hopes that one day they'll show up for me.
I was
Mhm.
asking myself that the same question because I'm like, what happens if I get older? Because of the fact that I'm so in love with my kids, that if I get older and they're like, you're going to a home or I'm not going to take care of you, I was like, that'd be hard for me because the fact that I love my kids so much. And then
I
Yeah.
think
like,
we all have a fear of that.
Yeah.
Our children are gonna be like, no.
We're gonna
Yes.
be in a home together.
Right.
Yes.
Just kidding.
And as parents, you get 1,000 fears.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's one of them. What is your best advice to prevent homelessness? I mean, is there a way?
Wow, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't. Honestly, we're all a paycheck away from homelessness.
I mean, I've been there plenty of times. There's
Yes.
been times where I'm telling my wife, I'm like, man, like, she's not working. Um, I'm not getting a lot of hours at work. Not recently. This happened to, when my oldest was a baby. And, we had just gotten into a new house. We were renting out our other house and the renters weren't paying and everything else. So I'm trying to juggle all this different stuff. And we're buying groceries. I'm telling my wife to go ahead and eat. I'm telling, we're feeding the kid and everything else. I'm not eating because it's saving money. And we're just making all these, like, I guess in a sense, what I feel like it was logical and rational thinking. But I could have easily been in that same situation. But my wife just said, have faith.
Yeah.
And when she told me everything was going to be okay, everything was okay. I just said, you know what? I'm going to, put it in your hands. See me through. He's seen me through. And I mean, there's been plenty of times where I'm just like, I don't know how things worked out, but they worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be very transparent. I'm going to say, prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer is very huge.
Yeah.
It is.
Asking, communicating,
Right.
petitioning for yourself,
Yeah.
interceding for other people. I would have to say, the best way to prevent homelessness is a community that can be locked together as a unit
Yeah.
to help each other out. When someone falls, we all come together,
Yeah.
help that person. If something's going on mentally, come together. Let's come together. Let's figure it out. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
Because that's all people need. They need that affection. They need that compassion. They need to know that they care,
Yeah.
that they belong and they're worthy,
That community is big.
We don't even have that anymore.
We don't.
Community used to be real big. Remember when you go down the street and you do something wrong and your neighbor would be like, hey, you're going to get a whooping and I'm going to come out there and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. Now you hardly know your neighbors.
Right.
Right. So I think what you're saying, bringing the community aspect back is real important.
Yeah.
Getting to know people,
Yes.
finding out what do you need so that I can help you, or how can you help me so that we can continue to stay where we are.
My own personal slogan has been that. I'm randomly, and everybody out there, if you've gotten a message, it's always been for good. But I'm randomly reaching out and sending text messages, sending, messages via Facebook, Instagram, and I'm literally just saying, "Hey, I don't need anything. I'm just checking up on you," because we don't know what anybody is going through. And I always feel like I don't ever want to come into a situation where something happens bad to them, and I could have reached out and possibly changed the outlook on everything, or the way everything went.
Yeah.
So I'm always doing that. So that's been my personal message and everything else.
Well, I would also have to say it's on the person too. Like you need to have that vulnerability to come
Right.
forward and say, "Hey, I need this help. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm struggling here." Because otherwise, we're not mind readers.
Yeah.
I can't read your mind. But if you tell me, like, "Hey, I'm going through this,
Right.
and I just need a little support,"
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there 100%.
Yeah. I've been there to blame. I've been very prideful at times. And in the way, because of the fact that I get embarrassed for anybody seeing any type of human in me. So if I can take away from anybody seeing any faults in me, I'll just keep my mouth quiet and I'll just keep it running. I just won't say anything. I need to learn to let go and trust people, because that's what's going to help as well. To say, you know what, I trust you to tell you what's going on, whether it be my wife, my parents, my grandparents, whoever it ends up being. I need to be able to say, you know what, I trust you to be able to give you this information.
Yeah.
And not necessarily think that, they're going to judge me right away. How are kids surviving on the streets?
They're definitely going around asking people for food and money. That's
Yeah.
their survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then whatever else the older people are teaching them out there on how
Yeah.
to survive,
Right.
I think that's because if you're living on the streets, you're going to learn from people on the streets.
Yeah. And it's a cold world out there.
It really is.
Yeah. What would you like the community or society to know about elders and children that isn't discussed? Something that we're not necessarily talking about, or that you can't necessarily read. like from personal experiences or anything?
That you have to really get to know their situation. Ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
Ask them, how did you get here?
Yeah.
What's going on? I don't think we do enough asking.
Yeah.
I think we just draw conclusions and that's what we do.
Yeah.
And then we leave it there. And when you find that we take the time to talk, then we get the real story.
Yeah.
And maybe the real story is maybe they didn't get along with parents.
Yeah.
Maybe the elderly maybe their social security stopped
Yeah.
and they didn't want to tell anybody. So we have to start asking questions.
I agree. I always try to explain, the hunger that arises, especially during summertime. Can you explain why summertime is so pertinent for these kids?
Um, I mean, they're not getting fed in the summer,
Right.
And I think a lot of it has to do with you have now these days we have one parent home, right? And you got that one parent who's trying to survive and make the bills, and they've got to work 2-3 jobs, and they don't have time to spend with the child, and they don't have spot. They may not even have enough for a sitter.
Right.
So the kid's home fending for himself or herself, and it's crucial for them because that's how they eat. If they're young, they're not going to be able to, and they don't know how to cook yet.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to make themselves food. They're not going to be able to not go hungry.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that some schools stay open in the summertime and they have, here's a breakfast time and here's a lunch time.
Right.
You guys can come during these time to eat. And I think that's amazing for schools to do to, help the kids that are in the community who suffer from hunger and struggle.
Yeah.
And the parents who can't be there for them because, they're working a 9-to-5 job to try to keep afloat with this inflation and with the way prices are going up. And
It is nuts. I mean, it's just the way I go grocery shopping. I used to spend not even half, like a quarter of what I'm spending nowadays. I mean, you can't even get, fruits, vegetables at a decent price. It's like you're spending $100 just on a couple of, different fruits and vegetables.
$1 for a lemon.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a lot. Because it used to be, I think, like 66 cents, 67, something like that around there.
Like 50 cents.
Yeah. It is nuts. Sitter is another one too that's really expensive. It's almost like paying an expensive job. Being a sitter.
I would like to just say that if we can give children more opportunity, they don't have a level playing field.
Yeah.
Some children can afford certain things and some can't.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, they are left at home.
Right.
Why not organizations that provide services? Let's get together and provide a huge service.
Yes.
Where we can maybe pick these children up or take them somewhere, provide them with meals that are cooked and drop them off, do check-ins on these children.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I can only imagine with you two, the other two organizations, the community, what is it called? Community
Feed the Community.
Feed the Community.
Event that Zuri Circle will be doing.
Yeah.
The Feed the Community event.
Yes.
So we're going into our 10th year.
Uh-huh.
We're super excited. This event is important because we're meeting the families where they're most comfortable, and that's in their schools.
Yeah.
Right.
So we provide a bunch of different services. There's like eye exams.
Right.
We do health and wellness. Other organizations come out.
See, that's what I
and
love.
give their
I love when you
information.
guys all network. You matter too if they're there. The Who I Am. I mean, you got some heavy hitters that are out there, and they're not looking for personal gain. They're there because they want to help and change the world. You guys are the reason why I am trying to, be the middle person because, I mean, I'm seeing what you guys are doing, and you guys are helping me become a better person.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh man, like you're doing good," and it's like I'm just literally just following the steps that these people are laying in for me. So I appreciate you guys more than you guys know.
No, thank you,
Oh,
Patrick.
definitely.
Where are these people going? These homeless people, where are they going during extreme weather conditions?
Well, I'd have to say probably homeless shelters underneath like
I mean, but sometimes they're full.
So a lot of them are on the street. There's
Yeah.
no shelter.
Yeah.
The different cities have tried to do the water stations.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how well that's working because
Yeah.
we're still losing individuals out there on the street.
Yeah.
I think we need to do better job of, like, instead of saying, "Hey, you gotta come down 10 blocks in this summer heat," we need to go meet them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there's enough organizations and enough people that deal with homelessness that we can keep them cool in the summertime.
Yes.
Yeah, and like what you said, like in extreme weather, like when it storms and stuff like that, a lot of them
Mhm.
have tents now,
Yeah.
so they're staying in their tents during these times.
Yeah.
But I like what she said because I love seeing that. You know, when we would go out, I would go out with You Matter too. You know,
Right.
Agent Foot would partner with You Matter too, and we would go out and we would bring food to the homeless and give them water and drinks, and then I would see another organization
Yeah.
doing the same thing, and it's just really nice to see that, you know, we're not the only organizations doing it. Everybody has the same thought. Everybody wants to do the same thing
Yeah.
and help our homeless people in the
But
city.
just think about if we all came together
That's what
under
I'm saying.
and did it together in one big day, all the time. Like if we're doing Saturdays, then we're all together and we come and we say, okay, you get this street, you get this street. We would
Yes.
cover so much more.
Be a real life
Um,
Captain Planet.
Yeah.
yeah, because
And,
Yeah.
we've always said, everybody wants to go downtown.
Yeah.
Everybody
yeah.
wants to go downtown and feed. And I would tell You Matter too, like, what about the surrounding areas?
Right.
What about those people that don't get that everyday support?
Yeah.
Let's push out to them.
And to kind of go a little bit further than that, let's not just do it during the holidays.
That's
Right.
right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, because they're struggling the rest of the year.
Right.
It's nice, to help them. I'm not saying it's not help them during the holidays, but try to think about them all year.
Yeah. And
Yep.
they're very, I mean, they're very, very grateful and thankful for the food. And they show it. They show the appreciation. They're
Oh
like,
man,
when are
they're
you coming back? You know?
yes. I've met a lot of beautiful individuals. I've done the soup kitchens at the Andre's house and stuff like that. I mean, they treat you with so much respect and so much love because of the fact that you're feeding them.
Yeah.
If you run out of food, it's hard. It's a different story, but it's they're not there. They're not bad people, and
Yeah.
that's the reason why I want to make sure I'm pressing this issue because of the fact that I'm kind of getting tired of people just saying that they're out there for a reason. They're out there because they want to.
Mhm.
It's not always a situation. Like I think if we all took accountability of ourselves and really thought about the situation, we would have more empathy and compassion for the
Yeah.
people on the
Yeah.
streets.
And they do want to be treated just like anybody else, just like a
Right.
regular person. I remember when we were with You Matter too, and we were handing out bags, and this one guy was like, "Hey, can I tell you a joke?" You know, I was like, "Yeah, tell me a joke." And he told me what the joke was, and I was laughing. I was all right. Well, what's your name? And a lot of homeless people have that street name because they
Yeah.
don't want to disclose their real name because you don't know what they're into or what's
Yeah.
going on. So this guy was like, "I'm Shaggy," and I was like, "All right, so you got that street name." I'm like, "All right, well, I'm Agent K."
Yeah.
So I just let him know, I can match you because I have a street name too, but not really a street name. It's more like my friends and my coworkers call me
Right.
Agent K.
Yeah.
So
But for that 2 seconds, for that moment in time, it took him away from him dealing with, being on the street. So he felt involved. He felt important. So that's a beautiful thing. So I appreciate that. What is your message to those who spew hate or try to physically attack people on the street? There was a big run for it, the past couple of years, and it was just breaking my heart. People actually died, being homeless because these people were going up to him and, physically hurting him.
I mean, what would they do if they were in that situation? What would they do if it was them on the street and they had to find places to stay?
Yeah.
Find places where they felt safe.
Right.
I would tell them to, like, really consider what you're doing because you wouldn't want someone to come and attack you,
Yeah.
and take away the security, the little security that you already have.
Right.
I would say, think of it as yourself.
Uh-huh.
If that were me, is that how I want people to treat me?
Yeah.
Um, if that were my sister, my brother, my mom, my dad,
Yeah.
my son, my kids, I if my kid, decided to run away and I didn't know where they were and they were homeless, I would hope that someone would be taking care of my kid.
Yeah.
I would do everything I could to find, where they're
Right.
at. But just to be mindful that these are human beings
Right.
that share the same flesh. We have flesh and we bleed the same.
Yeah.
So
100%.
treat 'em like a human.
Yeah. What is the correct term when I was calling them, homelessness, because that's the main, topic today, but what is the correct term when we're talking about them? There's so many different names. There's panhandlers, there's street people. What is the correct term?
Oh, that's a good question.
Very good.
I think a lot of times we often refer to people on the streets as a homeless person
Yeah.
because they are homeless.
Yeah.
They don't
Or
have a
we'll
home to go
say
to.
our homeless friends,
Yeah.
because we have to treat them like friends.
Yeah.
So, but I think panhandler is
Yeah.
different from being homeless because panhandlers there are some homeless that beg for money, but not very many.
Yeah.
They mostly stay in their space
Yeah.
because once you find a space you're comfortable in, you stay there.
Yeah.
But panhandling is different because
Yeah.
they're out asking for money in different ways. So
Yes.
I would just say homeless friends, or if
Yeah.
you take the time to get to know them, then you'll end up calling them by their name or
Yes,
a
I love that.
nickname or
Yeah.
something like that.
I don't know. Would you consider a panhandler someone who has a house and then is just trying to make extra money? I would consider that
I mean,
someone who's a panhandler who really doesn't live on the streets and is
yeah.
really taking food or money away from real homeless people who need it.
And I've seen a couple of videos that's been posted out there where people are parking their cars and they're panhandling. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and it's hard because they're giving a bad name to the people that are actually out
Right.
there looking for, an opportunity. We hardly hear about elders, but I see you also help with them being homeless. What are those situations like?
Wow. So there was a older gentleman by my home who was homeless. He was a veteran, and it was actually kind of sad because he didn't really know where to go.
Yeah,
He didn't know what to do. He was scared, and they're scared being out there on the street
yeah,
because you have all these people that, like you said, want to beat people up or mess with them. So it's kind of hard because their situations are a little different and it's harder to find resources
right.
for the elderly. I think it's more, you're finding more resources for families or veterans um, but it's hard when you don't have those labels to find
Uh-huh.
a place to put individuals.
Right. And what are some red flags for kids that are dealing with hunger or even homelessness? Like how are we being able to know without them physically telling us?
Well, just to be able to identify it, when they're stealing other kids' food
Yeah,
and you think they're being a bully, but they're really not. They're
yeah,
just are really hungry.
yeah.
When you see them walking to the schools during the summer times,
Right.
lining up to get food. Um, I think those are some of the ways that I've seen, on my side of town.
Yeah. And those school programs suck. I'm just gonna just be blunt and be honest. They
Yeah.
suck because why are they charging kids, for lunch? I mean,
Yeah. And then you hear it from my own kids. Like I'll hear it from my kids, like, such and such is, they live on the street or
yeah,
they don't have a house to go to or they're hungry. So I just give them my food, just things
right,
like that. And just hearsay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what are your solutions to ending the crisis in hunger or even being homeless?
Wow. For hunger, I would have to say gardens.
Yeah.
We
I was
got to
going to
go
say
back
that.
to gardens
Yes,
because if we're not teaching them how to feed themselves
right.
the right foods,
Yes,
then how are they ever going to learn? I had a little girl in garden class say, "Well, I can't garden. I live in an apartment." I said, "Oh, sweetheart, yes, you
yes, you
can.
can.
You can garden on your
Yeah.
balcony. You can garden in your kitchen.
Yeah,
There's so many ways. So if we just teach them the many ways to garden and to save money,
yeah.
like it's really important if we show families how they can go into the store and really budget
Uh huh.
what they're getting. Look how much food we waste
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Man, you open that girl's world. It's a whole different thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if we address those issues, if we address those things, we can really start turning around some of the problems we're having.
So why is there such a thing as world hunger? We had the money, we had the resources. Why is there? World hunger.
Greed.
Yeah.
Greed is one of the main things right now.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, you go into the grocery store. Is there a reason that we need to be paying $5 for
No.
bread?
No.
You know, so we need to go back to, and my husband tells me this all the time, we need to go back to cooking our own foods.
Yes.
Because when we let the grocery stores and all those people see, like, hey, you're trying to squeeze us so
Yeah.
we can do this ourselves, it's going to make change. And then when we teach those that are struggling, hey, you don't have to go to the store to get your bread. You can make your bread
Could you
Yeah.
imagine
very
we went
easily.
and we did like a trade system where we started, everybody was in charge of, doing their own gardening, and then we traded off like, okay, like I got, this, and then almost like we had our
Right.
own personal home stores. I think that would be dope.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
I mean, let's cut
Anybody
the
watching
grocery
out
stores
there,
out.
if they want to run with it, you can use my idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Run with it. Yeah.
You better
And
include me in that trade.
Yes.
the other thing would be, how come we took home economics out of elementary
Right.
Oh, we
schools?
took all the important
Why
stuff
did we
out.
take
Yeah.
trade, money management?
Yeah.
These are things
Yep.
we need to put back into the schools that we took out.
Yeah.
And what driver's ed.
Yes.
Like, that's why we have so many accidents,
Oh,
you know?
I hate driving to
Driver's
work.
ed. And now they want to
Yeah.
charge like $1,200 just to put your kid in some type of driver defense
Mhm.
class for someone to teach your kid how to drive.
Yeah.
I mean, when they could have just still had it in the school. You know, the school that I went to was in Mesa, and I took driver's ed, and man, it was amazing. Like being
Yeah, I
able to know
loved
all the
I love
different
driver's
ways.
ed in my class or in my
Yeah,
school.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, and like why don't we have those anymore? You know, I hope our next governor, starts to implement all these things back into school.
Yeah. I
You
hope so
know, the
too.
next superintendent that we vote in,
Yeah.
it's very important to vote. I know a lot of people don't like, how the voting went, the last voting went, but don't let that discourage you
Hey, if
because
they don't like
voting,
it, then that should be the more reason for them to be out there and go vote.
right?
Yes, make change. If you don't like what's
Right.
going on out there, do something about it.
Yeah, be a
Stop complaining
change.
about it.
Yeah,
Yes.
be a change.
Is there not enough food to go around?
There's plenty of food to
Yeah,
go around.
there's lots of seeds you can
I
grow.
say that just because of, yeah, there's plenty of food, but I just say that just because, I don't know. I wanted to get your guys' answer.
Yeah. No, I think you're on the right track. There's
Mhm.
there's a lot of food to go around. I mean, look at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
How much candy bars can we have? Why
Right.
don't we eliminate like the junk stuff and
Oh,
get
I
all the
would love
good
it.
stuff in? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's invest in good food.
There's 2 aisles for cookies. There's 2 aisles for, the sodas and stuff like that. Like, if we actually put in the good stuff and actually give people the chance to actually try it out, they're gonna like it. My boys, they like the Wanabanas and they like the elderberries now. In the beginning, they're like, I don't like doing this. And now we're all for it. Now they're asking for it, but because of the fact that I introduce them to these new ingredients.
Yeah.
And you got to make it fun.
Yes.
Make it fun for them.
Yeah, if the stuff
Try
that
new
they don't
things.
like, I trick them into it. Like we do the spinach and the kale and the eggs. Whatever, vegetables that they don't like, we throw it in a smoothie
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
drinking it. And I'm like, oh, how'd you like it? Oh, it's good. And I'm like, oh, did you know I had this and this? And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like it's a mind game in a sense because if you give it to them by themselves, well, granted, I take that back because there is some vegetables and fruits that are kind of strong,
Yeah.
but they taste better when they're mixed in with other stuff. So,
Yeah.
what are some helpful resources?
There's so many.
Nonprofits like Zuri Circle,
Yeah.
You Matter Too.
Yes.
Community
mean,
Mission AZ,
yeah.
Agent
Yeah.
Foot, Who I Am Foundation. There's so many small organizations out there
Uh-huh.
that, and I have to say this because it's very important. There's so many small organizations that are getting overlooked
Yeah.
because we don't have the big marketing money,
Right.
the big money funds that a lot of the other organizations get.
Yeah.
If people would just give us a chance, they would see that we actually do quite a bit in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do your research. See what's out there. Stop, just focusing on these big corporations because I said it when I was interviewing Anthony with Who I Am. These big organizations, they're literally just focusing on taking your money out of your pocket. They're not focusing on the actual person that's there. Excuse me. What is your message to those who help and give but do it for personal gain?
It's gonna catch up with you.
It really is.
It'll catch up
Yeah,
with you.
it really will.
It'll start to eat away at
Mhm.
your thoughts, at who you are as a person. So just don't do it.
Yeah.
have that authentic compassion for people.
And how do you make someone on the street smile or make their day if you don't have anything to give?
Just asking them, like when we came in, you
Yeah.
asked us how we were doing.
Yeah.
Just ask somebody how they're doing. That's it. It's simple things.
Yeah.
Or even just smile at someone.
I started watching this video. It was I just lost my train of thought. It's like they do like random acts and stuff like that. And now it's encouraged me to try to do it. I think I was telling you earlier how I do I do this thing that's called 24. I do it every humanitarian day. It's 24 random acts of kindness for 24 people in 24 random acts of kindness, 24 hours and in 24 hours. I think I mixed it up a little bit, but I'm always looking for new ways to make someone smile. There's plenty of ways to making someone smile or making their day.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah. What is your message to those that feel that they don't have anyone or feel lost?
I would say don't be afraid to do anything, actually.
Yeah.
I used to be that way where I would just keep it to myself and I'm like, I can't really say that because then, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And if you need help, really reach out.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable, be humble too. Just it's the best way, just to be yourself and to be
Yeah.
humble and to make sure you do a set of rules for yourself, because
Yeah.
that's what I had to learn. I had to do a set of rules for myself, morally, financially,
Yeah.
emotionally, um, just a me time so that you can be confident in what you're doing.
I agree. And I did want to point out a few stats about homelessness. Every episode, I want to make sure that the viewers are actually learning something. So whatever the topic is, I try to post some stats and stuff. But according to the Washington Post, for children, New York, followed by Kentucky, has the highest rate of child homelessness. California, followed by Alabama, was the next two. Men are the main gender of homelessness. That's 70% compared to women at 29%. 40% of homeless school-aged children have a mental health problem. And every year, roughly 13,000 homeless people die in the U.S. Approximately 2.4% of homeless persons die every year. And the last one, being homeless could take 20 to 30 years off your life.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Just to hear all that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of work to do.
Oh, we have a lot of work.
Me too.
That's why I think I look up to, when I mentioned it earlier, the Captain Planet. That's who I would love to be if I ever got the chance to. Iron Man, Batman, just because of the fact that I mean, if we lay the paths, everybody else is going to follow and want to look up and do the same thing at the same time.
Nobody's gonna know.
It is now time where this and every show we give out a random hack, a fun fact, and message and joke. Today's hack or tip: are you having trouble having your little one hold onto their pencil? Well, get a wad of toilet paper or tissue and put it in the last two fingers while they hold their pencil in the right form. This will help them when they're writing. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the tissue right here, and then that way when they're holding it, it actually helps them hold it better. The fun fact: did you know that a shrimp's heart is in its head?
What?
Yeah, pretty crazy. And the message: it is okay to get tired. It is okay to have bad days, to feel weak, frustrated, or sad. Don't beat yourself up. You're doing the best you can do, and that's all right. It takes great strength to do what you do. I appreciate you. So does your child. Don't feel embarrassed or prideful not to reach out for help. You will look back on this time and really appreciate these moments that make you a better parent. May it all be in your favor. Good luck. And the joke: what did the evil chicken lay?
What?
I know.
A yolk? I don't
You wanna
know.
guess?
Deviled eggs.
Comic book-
Say it again.
Deviled eggs.
There we go. You got it right. It was deviled eggs.
Thank you. I
was,
studied for this all week.
Yeah. I was trying to find a joke that was kind of like Halloween-ish. So deviled eggs was right. Elijah Wells for Generations Lee won that one. Actually, he has his own show too. It's promoting wealth and Actually, I'll have you explain it.
Yes, my show is called Wealth for Generations. It's about showing options for other avenues of wealth, being that we grew up well, Patrick kind of grew up in the same area. We grew up in a low income area, and growing up in the time that we grew up, it was always about what sport do you want to play? Are you going to be a police officer? Are you going to be a firefighter? Like just like the main 5 careers. You want to be a doctor. So the main purpose of my show is to show people that there's other avenues besides those 5 main options to build wealth, as well as showing you some of the behind the scenes and little other options you have for building wealth, like stocks and real estate and things of that nature.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
So we're building, boy.
We building,
Yeah.
boy.
There we go. And as we wrap up this show, I want to give a huge shout out to my guest, Kim. Where can they follow you at?
www.zoricircle.org. You also can find us on all social media platforms.
Nice. I'm going to give you a round of applause. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm practicing it in my head, so I say it right. My guest, Christina. Why do I keep messing it up? I was trying to get it right this 100 times. Where can they follow you at?
On Instagram and Facebook right now.
I'm gonna lose sleep tonight because I just messed up your name.
It's all right.
I'm gonna kick myself.
You can call me Agent K.
Or Agent K, yes, I'll do that.
So you can go to Agent Foot on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Do you have any events going on? Anything you guys want to plug?
Yes, I have our annual Feed the Community event happening November 19th
Okay.
at Peoria Elementary School from 9 to 2.
Nice.
And it's at 11507 North 79th Avenue. It is free, a free event, and we'll be doing some fun things there.
Yeah, come out because Agent Foot will be there too. And we will be doing a workshop on budgeting.
That's
Nice.
right.
So if you
There we
want your
go.
kid to learn how to budget early and be a little budget genius and be financially fit in the future, Agent Foot's your workshop.
Yes, and I think
Yes.
Elijah should
Maybe
go to that
I was
one.
gonna say maybe I'll have to show up and be one of your temporary agents and
Yeah.
recruit some people.
That's
There we
right.
go.
Talk to you.
Yes.
Beautiful thing. We're networking right now. Yes. But I do want to thank you both for taking the time out of your busy day to be on the show. I enjoyed it. Hopefully the community learned enough. And if they didn't, they can watch it a second or third time so they can get everything because there's a lot of information. And to the voice with the choice, Mr. Dip, and Elijah, Wealth for Generations, Lee.
Thank you.
Please like and follow Habari Live Podcast, Habari Entertainment, and check out other shows on there like Habari Live, Wealth for Generations, The Von Rebel Show, and the Socially Awkward and Uncomfortable Podcast. Please also check out One Love on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This is One Love. Thank you for tuning into the show. Make it a great day. Stay hydrated and well rested. And we're out.